All right, we got John Kavanagh here, and you're going to walk me through how do I survive this cold, long winter? How
You're
am I supposed to make
watching
it through this, man?
Calf Kick Sports
This is
Podcast.
summertime now. If you're struggling now, you should have been here in December or January. But it's we're on the other side of it now. It's the end of the great winter.
Man, so I moved to Scotland a few years ago from Canada, and
Oh,
like this weather is just like this is hard to get through, and it's not that cold; it's just cloudy all the time, eh?
yeah, it's a challenge. I did 6 months in Iceland, and when I came back here, I felt it was tropical. So there's always somewhere worse.
That's true, actually. Yeah, in Iceland, it's like 4 hours of sunlight when you're lucky, kind of thing.
And it's not sunlight. It's 4 hours of slightly dusky, not pitch black, but I wouldn't. Sunlight would be a stretch.
No, Iceland's awesome. I love visiting Iceland. There's so much hiking to do. There's so many cool waterfalls. I will we'll talk about fighting in a bit, but man, tell me about like what do when people visit Iceland, they always try to the Blue Lagoon, but like there's a lot of other cool things to do there.
Yeah, it's good if you can get in with a local. Obviously, I'm close with Gunnar Nelson, so I got to kind of see. There's a lot of natural lagoons. The Blue Lagoon is very popular. It's very expensive, and you
Yeah.
get all the tourists going there. But if you get a local, they'll drive you a bit outside the city, and you can go to all these incredible natural heated pools. Like you said, it's very dramatic landscape. Of all the places I've been in the world, people say to me, "Oh, where would you recommend going?" I always say Iceland first, just because it's so different. You go to any city around Europe, there's going to be an old church, a river, a bridge, you know. But you go to Iceland, and literally the country is changing by the year. You know, there's always a volcanic activity. There's some plates moving, and it's the people are very different than anything else you'll experience. The food, if you want to be brave and try the what's it called, Bremen, it's their liquor and their the rotten shark. So
Don't try
there's some
it.
unusual experiences there.
Do the other stuff. Don't do that.
You got to get the full experience, and then you got to
Right.
eat a sheep head, starting with the eyeball.
Hey, and that's fine. That's fine. That I can get on board with. The other stuff, the other food, it's fine. But the hot dogs are super different there too. It's like it's different. It's like a lamb wrap or something like
That's a
that.
funny one. You go on and you go Iceland's most famous restaurants, and one of the ones that'll pop up is this hot dog stand
Yeah.
that there's always a queue for,
Yeah.
and it's good. It's good. It didn't blow me away. I was more interested in the other foods, but it's a damn good hot dog.
Man, you just lit up all the articles. Every Icelandic website's gonna be like, you wouldn't believe what John said about our hot dogs.
I did not saying they're not good. I'm just saying it's a hot dog at the end of the day. You know.
And I actually co-signed with you on that. All right, so tell me a little bit about the SBG Ireland gym. I understand you were telling people years ago that the main strength is just how competitive everybody is in that training room. Is that right?
Yeah, that's I don't think that would be a great difference from most decent sized MMA teams. It's a great benefit for the guys on the mats. It's uh, especially the lighter weight classes, the females. I probably could do it a few more bigger guys, but if you're in that mid range, there's going to be 10 or 12 good level guys there on the mats to push you. And I'm also very kind of proud that we have a bunch of different styles on the mats. We've kind of Eastern European wrestlers, we've slick jiu-jitsu guys, we've got talented strikers. So whoever you're facing will hopefully be able to find someone on the mat that will be able to give you a good look as for preparation.
Oh yeah, international team and world champions everywhere. Correct me when I'm wrong. Stop me when I'm wrong here, but I think you said that they were so competitive at one point that they actually got into a literal pissing contest at one point. Is that correct?
When did I tell you that?
Okay, this was a few years ago. I forget if it was on, I think it was on Joe Rogan or something like that. But you were like, this room is so competitive that these guys will like, you peed for 19 seconds. I'm gonna do it.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. Two of them step to the urinal for it's going to be who's going to step away first. Yeah, they they get after it. But I try to. I think that my role is to keep the mat that it's a safe training environment, but very competitive. That they are trying to beat each other in every position and in every drill, but also to help each other. If you catch me with the same technique 3 times in a row, I'll expect on the fourth time you tell me what you were doing. So keep the training fun but competitive and also experimental. I like the guys to be curious. I like the guys to fall in love with the sport in the same way I have. Just today, I was working out with with a couple of the guys, Johnny Walker and Carl, and we're playing around with the Choi bar. That's getting very popular in jiu-jitsu. Maybe doesn't cross over to MMA quite as well, but just playing with new positions, new techniques, keep it fresh. We know the techniques we have to do. We know how many miles we have to run. We know how many pads we have to hit. And after a while, that can become a little bit repetitive. So I always try to keep their minds active and throw something new at them as often as I can.
And one of the best fighters that you've trained is looking to make history on March 22nd here. This might be the first Irish-born Bellator champion in history. And I actually am so surprised that he might be the first, considering how much Bellator has done. But tell the folks what they can expect from the finisher, the competitive, the tough as nails, Karl Moore.
So when Karl Moore started with me, he had already won he was a champ, as we say, in Cage Warriors. He'd won the light heavyweight and the heavyweight title. I knew him well. I go to Belfast a lot, and we'd see each other at shows, but he'd never come down. And then he did one time, and we just hit it off. He's been with us now a couple of years. We went through the COVID stuff together, so that kind of had him on the shelf for a while. But then, as soon as he got an opportunity, he fought another very good Karl from Sweden, and he had an incredible fight in the Tree Arena. His father was there. A lot of fans came down. He went through a very tough part of that fight. He got a knockdown. Comes back Rocky style, takes the guy's back, chokes him out. The crowd went wild. And so we had a couple of fights. His last one I thought was a grinding one against the great Alex Pelosi. Very tough wrestler. He had some tough positions in that. He got through it. And here we are. He's I think it's our fourth attempt at a Bellator title now. We haven't quite got there yet. So fingers crossed we get it done on this one.
This is the one. Corey Anderson, vacant title, but he is a major, major underdog. Have you seen how big of an underdog he is? Like, people are really counting out Karl unfairly, right?
Yeah. We're somewhat used to that. We're somewhat used to being the B side. I do think in this one we have an extra man in the cage, and that is 11,000 screaming Belfast fans. So really appealing for all the Belfast fans. I've said it before. I feel I get more recognized and stopped in Belfast than I do in Dublin. I go up there quite a bit. My wife is from Belfast. I have an SBG in Belfast I go to regularly. And I always stopped up there, and they're always asking, when's the show coming to Belfast? Well, here it is. And what a show Bellator abroad. We've got 2 world title fights on the night and a title eliminator with Fabian Edwards. That's a fight I'm particularly interested in as well. So a great card. I really hope all the fans come out, because as you know, it's one thing watching a show on the TV, but when you're in that big arena, you hear that 10,000 people scream. It's a very special experience.
Oh man, and it's such a good time. Like, the Bellator and PFL investing so much into Ireland, and now they're finally back in Belfast, and it's always such a great atmosphere. There are, and I've known this for a long time, ever since UFC 72 and UFC 93, there are no better fans in the world than Ireland. Is that right?
I think we're the heavyweight champions of fandom. I will say the Paris crowd are giving us a run for our money now. That recent Paris show was incredible. The UK fans are starting to come out as well, but I still think we have the title.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about how important the investment from PFL and Bellator have been in Ireland, because they were doing shows like, it felt like every 3 months or 2 months or something like that for a little while, right?
Yeah, it was kind of fairly steady. It was every February and every September, and I'll be forever indebted to Mike Cogan and Scott Coker and all the Bellator crew. They really saw the value in coming to Ireland, and tip of the hat to the Irish fans. They were regularly selling out 10,000 seat arenas, and I believe for a time, like that was the biggest crowds Bellator was getting. They'd go back to the States and they get 1,500 people, 2,000, and it was just regularly getting 10,000 in Ireland. So kudos and thank you to the Bellator guys, and also to the Irish fans that continue to support. But on this one, and I'll give a little shout to my missus, Orla Kavanagh now. She was the one that was pushing for me to bring a show to Belfast. She goes, it's every time, it's twice a year in Dublin. Why not do one in Belfast? So we start pushing for it. The stars aligned. Along comes Karl Moore, and he's getting ready for a world title. He's from Belfast himself. Everything fell into place. They went with it. So I'm hoping that they'll see the value of that, and it pays off.
And one of the cool things about Karl Moore as well, being on this card, is so inspirational. But he said even when he was an amateur, he had a dream of winning a world title in Belfast. This is like serendipitous. This is an amazing thing that he is probably about to pull off, right?
Yeah, that was a strange one. From the day he came to me, he said, look, I want to come here. I want to prepare with you. However, you will be in my corner in Belfast for a world title fight. And you kind of just, you raise your eyebrows and you go, oh, well, let's see what happens. And as is it seems to be a big kind of movement now. This visualization and affirmations and forcing something into existence. He did it. He made it happen. He got his winning streak. He got a couple of wins in a row. Every fight, he was always very. Karl is a freaking does my head in sometimes. He's a daydreamer. He's hard to get on the phone. I'm sure the Bellator guys will tell you he's a nightmare. But he was
that's why you're that's why you're here and not him, eh? They couldn't get him.
Maybe, but he always really had a plan for his post-fight call out. Every fight he said, "Now when this fight's over, I'm going to call out Yoel Romero, or I'm going to call out this," and he really had a plan, put it in place, and then made it happen. And he got his wins, he got his call out, and here we are.
Absolutely.
By the way, I have to say, I love the name of this show. It's like it goes to show you like one technique seems to have taken over MMA. The calf kick I think that's hilarious.
Well, and the thing is like it just rolls off the tongue. Calf kick sports 1, 2, 3. Like it just is such a nice name, but like the calf kick really did take over. And even I remember after I forget which fight it was, but when the calf kick became ubiquitous in the UFC, the next like K1 kickboxing event, which I know you're familiar with K1 kickboxing, especially back in the day, almost everybody had won by calf kick because it like nobody had learned how to defend it at that point. But yeah, they had like 12 fights and like 8 of them were calf kick knockout or something like this.
I'll give you a funny one.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I have a neurologist that trains sometimes in my gym, and he was telling me about this exposed nerve that's not really anywhere. Like we have a similar nerve that runs across our elbow. You probably have felt it if you hit your elbow off something, kind of called the funny bone.
Yeah.
And a similar thing happens with this nerve that runs across your knee, and it's exposed there. And he was telling me for years, you guys should start targeting that. And then it started happening. So I've gone back to him. I said, tell me more. What other nerves can we go after?
What other nerves can we attack? That's so good. Man, so okay, and look, we have to do it. You know what's coming. Like, no matter how many world champions you have, no matter how many world title fights you're going to have, people are still going to ask about Conor. Are you sick of Conor questions at this point?
It's an honor. I remember to be grateful that I'm in such a position that people are interested in asking me those questions. So far away. What's your Conor question?
Oh, I don't. This is like I don't know. We're both in the MMA sphere. Like I can't ask anything new. Manny Pacquiao or Eddie Alvarez next. Like whatever.
Look, I say the same thing to all journalists that you guys know as much as I know. I'm seeing the same clips come out as you. Yeah. I'm going to New York on Monday. I'll be at the premiere on Tuesday night with Conor. That'd be the first time I've physically been around him in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to getting an update for him as well. But I have a feeling he's going to tell me the same thing he's told me forever. June 29th, that's what he's pushing for. That's what he's hoping for. And let's hope it's that.
185? Serious?
Maybe that's up in the air. I'll have to ask him again. I'll ask him on your behalf.
Thank you very much. No, one thing I do like about some of the other promotions like in Europe is they vary up the rules a little bit. So I would love, and I've wanted a resurgence of Valet Tudo for quite a while. Do you think some of the SBG Ireland guys would be down for that?
Like as in like soccer kicks on the ground and stuff?
Bare knuckle, no rules MMA, yeah.
I think it'd be. I don't think I'd be able. I'm getting too old now. I don't know if I'd have the stomach for it. Probably back in the day, I'd like less and less rules. I would like to see knees to the head on the ground because it really does change up people shooting. If you can sprawl and get a few knees on to the head. The 12-6 elbow is just a ridiculous rule. Sure, don't hit the spine. Be careful with the target, but we should be able to 12-6 if somebody is in. I'm side control top and like 12-6. Why is that not allowed? So there's certainly a few rules. And bare knuckle, I would love bare knuckle. And I know Masvidal, he has a show, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound right, but I think bare knuckle would make it safer because you're a little bit, you don't want to hurt your hands. So maybe you go to the head a little bit less and encourages more grappling maybe. But I actually keep meaning to watch a Masvidal event. I'm very interested to see, back in the day it was all bare knuckle, but to see it now with modern skills, I'm very curious how it actually looks.
But yeah, what you're saying was conventional wisdom of like when it was bare knuckle boxing, they were targeting the body more than anything because it hurt your hand. You could break your hand. But now we're seeing it in like modern bare knuckle fighting. People are still headhunters, which is a massive surprise because it's almost like they're tough enough to break their hand and just keep going kind of thing, but you still break your hand.
Yeah, I don't. Do they in the bare knuckle MMA? Do they wrap the wrist and the hand like in the bare knuckle boxing? See, there should be no wraps. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. I just think it should be bare knuckle. You know, I don't like the idea when they add in the wrapping for bare knuckle boxing because it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I think if it's bare knuckle, it should be just nothing at all on your hands. And then now let's see how it goes. I remember I think it was one doctor said after seeing some events, he said the visual is worse because you'll get a few superficial cuts. But if you just raw numbers, an average pro boxing fight, maybe 300-400 repetitive blows to the head. Average bare knuckle fight, only a handful of punches thrown to the head. So I think it'd be good.
I co-sign with you on that, sir. All right, John Kavanagh, we got Bellator Championship Series coming out of Belfast on March 22nd. It's going to be electric in the arena. Karl Moore is looking to get the first world title for Ireland in Bellator in history. Last word goes to you, sir. Shout out who you need to shout out. Thank who you need to thank. All that good stuff, sir.
Can you see my Bellator there?
Yeah.
Buy a ticket. Buy a ticket. I can't emphasize that enough. It's great watching on TV. It's great watching it the day after. Nothing is like going to the arena. Come along. Karl Moore needs you there. I need you there. All the Irish fighters need you there. You're an extra man in the cage with us. So buy a ticket, and I hope to see you on the night.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, brother.